Trump's political world is shaking like never before. Imagine the former U.S. president receiving news that a foreign adversary isn't just opposing him politically, but allegedly threatening his personal safety. This isn't a hypothetical scenario. It's unfolding right now, and the implications are staggering. Today, we'll break down exactly what's happening with Iran, why Trump is under pressure, and how this escalating tension could backfire in ways no one expected. If you're watching this, I need you to help me prove something wrong. Some people said no one would take this seriously, but I believe Malaysians, Canadians, and global viewers alike deserve the full picture. Share this video, and let's show that informed communities stand together. Assalamu alaikum, let's dive in. In the last few months, tensions between the U.S. and Iran have reached new heights, fueled by political statements, military maneuvers, and increasingly direct threats aimed at Trump himself. Analysts are warning that this is one of the most dangerous periods in recent U.S. foreign relations. And while many are focusing on regional instability in the Middle East, few are understanding how this could directly affect Trump's political influence, personal safety, and the upcoming elections. I'm going to explain all of that, and later, reveal the one development that could completely change the course of this standoff. It all started when reports emerged of Iranian statements targeting Trump personally, a move that has analysts scrambling. For context, in 2023, the U.S. had already imposed sanctions, tightened military presence in the Gulf, and made statements about Iran's nuclear ambitions. But Iran's latest warnings aren't just about policy. They're personal, strategic, and timed with Trump's political comebacks. Imagine being a former president and knowing a foreign nation has officially put you on notice. That's exactly what Trump is facing, and his reaction has been both public and private, raising eyebrows across the world. Now, consider the psychological impact. Trump, known for his confident and sometimes provocative public persona, is reportedly showing signs of unease behind the scenes. Sources familiar with his inner circle claim there's heightened concern over personal security, even as public statements project bravado. Could this tension influence policy decisions or political rallies? Absolutely. The stakes aren't just foreign, they're domestic, affecting supporters, critics, and political rivals alike. Let's pause for a moment. You might be thinking, this sounds like media hype. But here's a fact. Multiple international outlets, including Iranian state media, have issued statements that have never been this direct before. Trump's security teams are on high alert, and there's speculation that emergency protocols for presidential protection might extend beyond traditional measures. This is unprecedented, and it's why analysts are warning that missteps on either side could ignite a larger confrontation. Switching focus to Iran, their strategy is calculated. By issuing threats aimed directly at Trump, they're sending a dual message, one to the U.S. administration and the world, and another to domestic audiences, showing strength and resolve. Experts note that such high-profile warnings are meant to create pressure, potentially forcing Trump and his allies into reactive decisions. And in international politics, reaction can sometimes be more dangerous than action. Meanwhile, Trump's response has been a mix of public dismissal and private concern. Social media activity suggests confidence, but insiders say strategic meetings behind closed doors reveal unease. What does this mean for you, the global audience? It's simple. Political instability at this level affects markets, international relations, and even global energy prices. For example, any U.S.-Iran conflict risks impacting oil exports through the Strait of Hormuz, which could affect fuel prices worldwide, including in Malaysia and Canada. This is why understanding the story isn't just for Americans. It has real economic and geopolitical ripple effects. Here's where it gets even more interesting. Trump's political opponents are watching closely, knowing that Iran's direct threats could be leveraged in domestic debates. Could they use this tension to challenge his leadership or question his decision-making in the past? Many analysts believe yes. And while Trump may project strength, these situations often expose vulnerabilities that savvy opponents exploit. Let's take a closer look at the military dimension. U.S. intelligence reports indicate that Iran has bolstered missile defense systems, drone capabilities, and cyber operations in response to perceived U.S. aggression. These measures aren't just defensive, they're strategic deterrents meant to signal that any hostile move will be costly. Experts warn that if Trump responds aggressively, the conflict could escalate rapidly. This is why many observers now say the current situation is a high-stakes chess game, where one wrong move could ignite a regional crisis. At this point, you might ask, is Trump panicking, or is this all strategic? The answer is complicated. Public appearances, speeches, and tweets suggest confidence, but insiders report heightened security protocols and discussions with military advisors that are more intensive than usual. There's a stark contrast between what the public sees and what actually happens behind the scenes. And that contrast is exactly what makes the story gripping, because we rarely get a peek behind the curtain of presidential security and decision-making. Now, let's bring in Canada and global implications. Canada, closely aligned with U.S. foreign policy, has already issued warnings to its citizens in the Middle East and Iran. Canadian businesses with investments in the region are monitoring the situation carefully. Even global markets are reacting, with stock indices showing volatility tied directly to news about potential U.S.-Iran escalation. For Malaysians watching, the takeaway is clear. Geopolitical tensions affect more than borders. They influence global stability and economics. Here's a fact you probably didn't know. During the Obama and Trump administrations, Iran has maintained a consistent intelligence operation aimed at foreign political figures. But direct threats against a former president, particularly in the context of his possible return to office, are highly unusual and alarming. This signals not just geopolitical tension, but a personal dimension to international relations that rarely makes headlines in mainstream media. Now imagine being in Trump's shoes. Every decision, every public statement, every international visit is scrutinized, not just by Americans, but by global powers. The pressure to appear unshaken while privately managing genuine security threats is immense. And as this drama unfolds, one thing becomes clear. Political decisions are no longer just about policy, they're about survival, influence, and legacy. Switching gears slightly, consider the ripple effect on U.S. domestic politics. Trump's political rallies, campaign events, and media appearances are now seen through a lens of heightened tension. Opponents are likely to question whether he can manage crises abroad while leading effectively at home. Supporters, meanwhile, are rallying more strongly, creating a polarized environment that further complicates the picture. The stakes couldn't be higher, and every move is being watched worldwide. And here comes the critical point. Why this backfires? Analysts suggest that direct threats from Iran, rather than weakening Trump, could galvanize his political base, increase media attention, and force the U.S. administration to overextend in a show of power. In short, what was meant as intimidation could instead strengthen his influence, showing how international maneuvers sometimes produce the opposite of their intended effect. For instance, past examples from history show that when a political figure faces personal threats, public sympathy and media coverage often amplify their influence rather than diminish it. In Trump's case, this could mean more headlines, higher poll numbers, and increased public support from loyalists, turning a serious threat into a political advantage. Let's not forget Iran's perspective. Their goal may be to project strength, but every statement, every missile test, and every threat carries risks of international backlash, sanctions, or diplomatic isolation. While their moves capture headlines, they also invite scrutiny from global powers, including Europe, Canada, and Asian nations. The chessboard is complex, and each side is weighing risk versus reward in real time. At this point, you might be asking, how does this affect global viewers, including Malaysians and Canadians? The truth is, geopolitical crises have a direct effect on world markets, energy prices, and even security perceptions. Airlines adjust flight paths, investors rethink portfolios, and ordinary citizens feel the ripple effect in ways that aren't immediately obvious but are very real. So what's next? Intelligence reports indicate ongoing monitoring of both U.S. and Iranian responses. The situation remains fluid, and each statement, tweet, or military action could shift the balance. Experts advise that patience and informed awareness are key, because escalation could happen quickly, but misinterpretation could trigger unnecessary panic. Now, as we approach the climax of this story, remember the major takeaways. First, direct threats from Iran against Trump are highly unusual and carry serious implications for U.S. politics. Second, the situation creates both risks and opportunities for Trump domestically and internationally. And third, global observers, including Malaysia and Canada, need to understand the interconnected nature of these events because what happens in Washington or Tehran can affect everyone. Finally, let's close the loop. Trump's public persona may project confidence, but the reality behind the scenes is tense, strategic, and high stakes. Iran's threats, while serious, could unintentionally amplify Trump's political influence, demonstrating that international maneuvers sometimes produce unintended consequences. For global viewers, this story is a reminder that politics, personal safety, and international relations are deeply intertwined, and understanding the details helps us stay informed, prepared, and aware. To wrap up, here's what you need to remember. Direct personal threats are a game changer in geopolitics. Escalation can backfire, and global awareness matters more than ever. If you found this analysis insightful, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Share this story with friends and family, so everyone can stay informed about the high-stakes drama unfolding between the US and Iran. Global events shape our lives. Don't miss a beat.